All right. Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of NCompass Live. I am your host, Christa Porter, here at the Nebraska Library Commission. NCompass Live is the Commission's weekly webinar series where we cover a variety of topics that may be of interest to libraries. We broadcast the show live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. But if you're unable to join us on Wednesdays, that's fine. We do record the show as we are doing today, and it will be available for you to watch later at your convenience. And I'll show you at the end of today's show where you can access all of our show recordings. Both the live show and the recordings are free and open to anyone to watch. So please do share with your friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, anyone you think might be interested in any of the topics we have on NCompass Live. The Nebraska Library Commission is the state agency for libraries in Nebraska. So we provide training and resources and databases and grants to all types of libraries in the state. So you will find shows on NCompass Live for all types of libraries. Public, academic, K-12, corrections, museums, archives, et cetera, et cetera. Really, our only criteria is that something to do with libraries. We bring in guest speakers to present on NCompass Live, sometimes from across Nebraska, across the country, but we also have Nebraska Library Commission staff that do presentations for us, and that is what you have today. Today, I am doing double duty. I am your host, as I said, but I am also your presenter for today. In addition to being the host of NCompass Live, my title here at the Nebraska Library Commission is Library Development Director. And in that capacity, I am in charge of our public library accreditation process. So I am going to, in the next hour, I am going to go through the basics of accreditation here in Nebraska, what you need to know, just an overview of the program. Accreditation is handled through our library development department. That's the department that I'm the head of. And our accreditation program and our certification programs are all related, and they're all in library development. So today it's going to be a quick overview. You will see here, I've started up here on the main library accreditation website. And you'll see I have a link here for people to attend today's show, but also a link to full training. I have scheduled 4 full 3-hour workshops on public library accreditation. These are the more in-depth training that you can sign up for if you want to have the more step-by-step of everything and a more in-depth look at it. So please do, if you want to dive deeper into accreditation. If you are actually up for re-accreditation this year, definitely a good idea to attend one of these workshops, as this will give you the step-by-step of everything you need to do, digging much more into all of the program, all of the process. I have 4 workshops scheduled in June, the 3rd, the 5th, the 10th, and the 11th, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. These are the same workshop every time. You do not have to attend 4 workshops to get everything. I just offer them multiple times so that everyone has a chance to find a date and time that works for them. So please do go ahead and register for one of those if you are up for accreditation this year, or re-accreditation this year, or looking to be accredited this year for the first time. That will give you the full in-depth workshop. But today we are going to just do our general overview of the program. I checked the registrations for today's show to see who all is signed up, and I see that some of you are up for re-accreditation this year. That's great. Good to get a head start on the process by attending this shorter overview. It's also a good session for, I think, other staff or board members who maybe just need to know a little bit about the program, but don't need to know every step of submitting your application form, every step of doing your community needs response plan. I'm going to get into both of those. This is a nice short overview for those people. So I see some of you are up for re-accreditation this year. That's great. Some people have not been accredited at all. That's great too. We love to always have new libraries joining the program. And some of you are in future years, 2026, 2028, and that's good too. Like I said, getting a head start, learning about the program to know what you will expect when it is your turn. So one of the first things that people ask me about accreditation is why? Why would I do this? What's the point? What's in it for me? What can I? How does this benefit my library? Why am I going through all of this? Well, the accreditation program, historically, the history of the program, it first started in the mid 80s, and it was to make sure that our libraries were providing good service to their citizens, to the citizens of Nebraska. So setting some standards, some benchmarks, some guidelines, saying as to be just a good library and providing like basic good service, you need to at least be doing these basic things. And if you did submit applications and say you did do all these things, then you received accreditation, and then you could tell people we have been looked at. The Nebraska Library Commission has looked at us and said we are a good, doing what we should to serve our community. So this is standards that you can follow, something to brag about to your community. I know many libraries like to put up, you do get an actual certificate in the mail when your library is accredited. You can frame, put on the wall. You can put it in your newsletters, and especially if you change levels and go to a higher level of accreditation, it's something to brag about. So minimum standards for library service. You can compare yourself to other libraries. There are peer comparisons within the program, so you can see libraries in a similar community size as mine. What are they doing, and how are we comparing? How do we compare to them? You can use it as a something to show your stakeholders, people who hold the purse strings, your library board, your city or village council, anyone who donates money to the library, any of the community who's interested in what the library is doing. So you can show them, look, we have actually met all of these criteria. The accreditation process also, I will tell you, this is a program that is done here by the Nebraska Library Commission. It is not a nationwide program. There is not some national organization that has accreditation or certification programs that they say here, all states must meet these criteria. It is done individually by each state, usually each state library. Not all states do accreditation or certification. Some do one or the other, some do both, some do neither. So if you are in another state or have come here from another state, you might not have never heard of this, or your program may be completely different than what we do here in Nebraska. So this is something just done through us here at the Nebraska Library Commission, no one above us telling us, here's what people have to meet. The program is actually created by other librarians, so your colleagues in the state come together to create it in the first place. Some of our library system directors, our regional system directors, involved in that process as well. Over the years, a couple of times there have been updates and changes made to the program where we bring together groups of people to review and do a self-evaluation of the program and make sure that things are still being asked and it is still a relevant program to librarians in the state. The Public Library Accreditation is also good for 5 years. This is a change we made a couple of years ago. Previously, in the beginning, it was 1 year. Every year you had to get reaccredited. That didn't last very long. Then for a long, long time, it was a 3-year renewal. Libraries had mentioned to us over the years that was too soon to renew. Not a lot had changed. They thought it was too quick. So we changed it to 5. We also kind of fell into the 5 years when the COVID-19 pandemic started. The first year of the pandemic, I gave everyone a 1-year extension on anyone who's up for renewal, a 1-year extension on their accreditation. That was in 2020. I said, too much going on. You all don't need to be worrying about this. One less thing on your plate with everything that's going on in the world. We'll give everyone an extension. In the second year, 2021, we did it again because things were still not settled down. So everyone got bumped an extra 2 years. Everyone's accreditation expiration date got bumped 2 years, and we kind of fell into it being 5 years. And I made that permanent after that was done. I said, let's just keep it at 5 years. That seems much more accurate to when things might be changing at libraries. So if you are accredited, you need to renew your accreditation every 5 years. Other benefits to this being accredited is money. To be blunt, it is a way that you can receive more money and access to potentially more money from us here at the Nebraska Library Commission. In order to receive state aid funding from the Library Commission, you need to be an accredited public library. This is money that we give out to all accredited libraries every year. Sam Shaw handles that program, and he reaches out to you, and it's based on your population served. There's a base fee, and then a base amount you get, and then an additional per capita based on your population served. So you receive that state aid funding. You should have received notice about that earlier this year. In addition, depending on what level of accreditation you are at, if you're at the 2 higher ones, you get additional money tacked on to your state aid. If you are silver level, you get $200 extra, and gold, you get $400 extra. So in order to receive state aid, you have to be accredited. In addition, if you want to apply for any of our grants here through the Nebraska Library Commission, you need to be an accredited public library as well. All of our grants are available to public libraries only, and you do need to be an accredited library. You can, if you're not a public library, you can partner with a public library, and then the public library can be the main applicant to our grants. So this is for continuing education and training grants to attend workshops or do training in your library. Internship grants, we can give you funding to help you have an extra staff person, temporary staff person. Library improvement grants to do new equipment or furniture or programming at your library. And then youth grants for excellence, which are specifically for anything youth related, a youth program, youth equipment, STEM equipment, whatever. So you need to be an accredited public library to apply for any of our Library Commission grants that we offer. In addition, here in Nebraska, the Department of Economic Development and the USDA have said that in order for public libraries to apply for their grants that libraries are eligible for, you also need to have your accreditation as well. So community development block grants and USDA grants and loans. And those are both for facilities. So if you need to do construction of any sort, expanding your library, building a new building, anything like that, that's the kind of grants that would be good for that. But they also do have a criteria that you need to be an accredited library. So this is some of the benefits of being accredited, why you would go through this whole process. Having these standards, being able to brag about it, showing your stakeholders in your community that you are doing these certain things and reaching these certain benchmarks. And by going through this process as well, you are then eligible to receive additional monies. There are 3 levels of accreditation: gold, silver, and bronze. And they are based on points system. There is an application form that we're going to look at briefly here, where you can check off boxes saying you do certain things at your library. Here are things that you are working on. Here are things that you provide for your community, and you earn points for each of those. And if you reach a certain point level, then you receive that level of accreditation. It's 175 points for bronze, 200 for silver, 250 for gold. There is a total of 275 points available to earn, but there's no like gold plus or platinum level. 250 is the max level. The point system, this is something that we instituted in 2013 with a change to the program to make it more equitable and reflecting more accurately what is happening in each of your unique communities. Previously, the program was a 1, 2, 3 level, bronze, silver, gold, where the lowest level you had to do all of these things that were under bronze, check off all these boxes, then you get bronze. In order to reach silver level, you had to do all of these other things, then you would be silver. If you missed one of those items, like there was one thing you weren't open enough hours or something, then you didn't get silver, just for missing one item. Over the years, that seemed very restrictive, not really reflecting accurately how libraries are very unique. Each community needs something different. Your community may do something that another one might not do, and another, like your community might have a teen advisory board and another one doesn't have one because they don't have a lot of teens that they serve. That's fine. You shouldn't be penalized just because your community doesn't have something that you don't need. That's not really good. So we decided to switch this up where everyone can earn points on whatever they do. You may earn points and get to silver level doing something completely different than the library down the road from you, because you each have different priorities, different communities, different things that your citizens are looking for. There is a list of all Nebraska public libraries that are out there that we have in Nebraska, and showing which level you are at. So if you want to check and see your library's level or any other library's current accreditation level, you can go here. It defaults to being alphabetical by city, but you can search it or order it however you want. Excuse me. These links here, if we know a library has a website, it links to their webpage, and you can see their level, what year they expire, and which regional library system you are part of. So you can go through this list and see what your library's accreditation level or any other library's is. Accreditation is good through December 31st of whatever year yours expires. So everyone here, so 2029, Ainsworth's accreditation is good through December 31st of 2029. In 2029, they would start their re-accreditation process. And then by the end of the year, they'd know if they were re-accredited for another 5 years. The process begins in July of each year. And if you notice at the top of this page, it did say that, but the big warning here, the 2025 Public Library Accreditation process begins July 1st. The schedule starts July of every year. That is when I send out emails. And as far as starting, it means that's when I send out emails to all public libraries in the state who are up for re-accreditation, letting you know you can now go and start working on that. The application form has gone live on July 1st. You can start looking at this ahead of time and working on what you might check off on your form before that, but the form doesn't go live until July 1st. My email goes out to all libraries up for re-accreditation this year and libraries who are not accredited but have submitted the Public Library Survey and our Library Commission specific supplemental survey for the preceding year. This is a survey that Sam Shaw does. It opens up in November, closes in February. So you all have already submitted this for this year. And so we know who has done the survey. Anyone who does the survey is eligible to become accredited if you want to. So I get a list of all those people, and you all get an email from me on, I believe it's Tuesday, July 1st this year. There is an online application form you will fill out and submit with all those questions and guidelines. And there is a community needs response plan, a document that you will submit to me as well. And I'm going to go into the details of both of those. Those are all due by October 1st. So July 1st, the accreditation application form, online form goes live. The plan, you can start working on it anytime you want to. That's just a separate document, a Word document, PDF, whatever format you have. But you can start working on that whenever you want and send that to me at any time. You don't have to wait till July 1st. They are both due to be, I need to have them both by October 1st. And after that, I then start looking at your application form, your plan, and see what questions you have answered, what you said on them. I may have questions for you, need some clarification, updating. And by the end of the year, December 31st, that's when you'll know at the latest if you have been accredited, re-accredited, and what your level is. You may know before December 31st, it's just whenever I get everything reviewed. But that's the ultimate deadline, is by the end of the year, everyone knows what's happening for the next year for their accreditation. Now, these deadlines are not in stone. The December 31st one is my own personal in stone date. Everything I want done by then. I need everything by October 1st, but if you have issues, if there's a delay, I do give extensions. As I said, this is a program that we run here through the Library Commission. I'm in charge, so I can give extensions to people. If you are a brand new library director and you're struggling with it, if you've had some sort of natural disaster or tornado, flooding, whatever, I can give you an extension. If you're having a building renovation done and you just have so much on your plate that this is not something you can think about, I can give you extension. I can give you just a month-by-month extension, or we can give a whole year extension if it's something very extreme. I do proactively give some extensions. If I know that there's a brand new library director at some library who just started like this month and they're due for re-accreditation, I'm not going to put this on your plate your first year as being a director. That's a lot. I will reach out and proactively say, hey, I see you're new. Let's just wait till next year for this. We do have a question here. One question I already answered. Someone asked about the dates and deadlines. There they are. But we have a question. Will we be able to see the last accreditation we submitted? I can get that to you, yes. When you go to log into this accreditation application form, the online form here, it's going to default to just giving you the blank one for this year. But I can get you a link to, we do have all of them archived, all the previous ones, yes. So I can get you a link to the last accreditation application form that you submitted. Just send me an email and let me know. And I can also get you, if you don't have a copy of your previous community needs response plan, sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle if it's been 5 years or more since you've done it. If you're a new director and you don't know where the previous director put the plan, I can also get you a copy of your previous plan that we would have on file here as well. So I can get those to you. You just have to let me know that you want them. Just send me a quick email. And I have had many libraries that request that they want to compare and see what did we do last time. And that's something I do too when I'm evaluating your form. I see, what kind of changes maybe you had from last time. I also take your application form, the online form, and your community needs response plan, and I compare them to each other. So I do need both of them before I start reviewing your, if you'll be reaccredited. This is because there are some questions on the application form that reference things that you would put into your plan, and I want to make sure that you've got them in both places. For example, if you mention you have, what did I say earlier? Like you have a teen advisory board in your plan, but you forgot to check that box in your application form, I want to make sure you do that and get those points. So I do review them both together to make sure everything is good and covered. All right, any other questions right now about what I've talked about so far, the schedule, the basics of the program? Cool. Just type in things whenever you think of them and I will answer them for you. So there are some requirements to apply for accreditation and to maintain your library's accreditation. So as I said already, to be invited to apply, if you're not already accredited, you do have to do that public library survey and our supplemental survey. And you do have to keep doing this every single year that you are to maintain and keep your accreditation. I do keep track of that. So you do have to make sure, so you can't just do it 1 year and then you don't have to do it again for another 5 years. No, you do have to keep doing the public library survey every year. Sam likes you to do it anyways because it is how we keep statistics and report things to the federal government and just keep track of what our libraries are doing anyways. We like to have everyone submit those. So you do have to do the public library survey and the supplemental survey. Then there are 12 minimum qualifications to become accredited. So these are things you just have to do no matter what. They're not anything you can earn special extra points for or earn points for. You just have to do these 12 minimum things no matter, just to start with. You must meet these qualifications. And this actually is the page that starts up the accreditation application form. This is the first page of that. And once you click all these boxes, you will then be bumped into the accreditation application form itself. Many of these requirements here are based on Nebraska state law. There are Nebraska library laws that dictate how libraries are created and how they need to run things, some things. And so many of these relate to Nebraska statutes. You'll notice here there is a question mark in a yellow circle, and you'll see this throughout the whole application form when we look at that as well. This pops open a help page that gives you information, links, more details about anything that is in the application form. So, first qualification is that your library is legally established under state statutes. Most of the library-related laws are in Chapter 51 of the Nebraska state statutes. And as I said, they're over here in our help page. And you can see all the different ones listed here, and we link to the Nebraska legislature's website where all the state statutes are that you can go and read if you would like to do so. If you like to do that kind of thing. To be legally established in a legally established public library in Nebraska, there are 2 criteria that you have to meet. One is that your library, your city council, village council, whatever, has to put out a resolution, an ordinance, an order, some sort of official document stating that we are starting up a public library. We are creating a public library. After you have that done, then you have to have a library board with a minimum of 5 members, so at least 5 members. You can have more, but you have to have a minimum of 5 members on your library board. If you've met those 2 criteria, then you are considered a legally established public library in Nebraska. Now, we do have public libraries in the state that do not do those things, and that's fine. You do not have to be legally established in order to be a public library in Nebraska, but in order to apply for Nebraska Public Library Accreditation and to receive some of our other services here at the Commission, you do need to be legally established. We have libraries that are run by volunteers. We have libraries that don't have boards. We have libraries that have independently run, run by a village, not created by a village or a county, and that's fine. You can have a public library in the state of Nebraska if you want to. There is the extra step of being legally established in order to receive certain criteria, receive certain services. In addition, you need to comply with any other Nebraska library laws or any local or federal laws that affect library operations. So there may be statutes and ordinances in your community about city departments or village departments. We have links here to federal laws about U.S. Code, Federal Code of Regulations, Open Meetings Act law, confidentiality of library records. This is the fact that you do not give out your patrons' library circulation records, things like that. American with Disabilities Act, all of these kind of things are laws that you need to be in compliance with. As I said, you do have to be legally established, and you do have to have a library board that follows all of the state and federal laws and Open Meetings Act law here in Nebraska. It can be a governing board or an advisory board, and follows Nebraska Open Meetings law. Nebraska Open Meetings Act is because public library boards are public bodies, and so your meetings are open to the public, and there are specific rules that you need to follow to hold those meetings, which are here under the, we have a link here to all the laws about that. We have also done previous NCompass live shows on the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, so I would definitely recommend checking our archives to watch that if you are interested in open meetings law and Nebraska laws, other Nebraska laws. We've done 2 separate sessions on both of those. So definitely take a look at that to make sure you know, your board knows how to properly follow the Open Meetings Act. The next 2 items here are related. Your library board and your library director must be certified by us here at the Nebraska Library Commission. As I mentioned, we have our accreditation program here, and we have our certification programs for both of those. And I'm going to pop back over here and up to the top to show you some more information about certification at this point. On our Library Commission website, we have a flyout menus here, and we have our certification pages and our library accreditation pages all grouped together because they're all related. In order for your library to be accredited, both your library board and your library director must be certified. So for boards, this entails doing 20 hours of continuing education work over a 3-year period. This is 20 hours collectively, not individually. So if you have 5 board members, each board member has to do 4 hours in 3 years. Easy peasy. We have lots of information here on how your board would sign up to be in the program, how to submit any continuing education work you have done, and resources and places you can go to do some of this work. It can be in person, it can be online. We actually pay for membership in the United for Libraries, which is the American Library Association section for libraries and friends and foundations. So we have statewide subscription to that, so it gives you access to Trustee Academy courses from them, short takes for trustees courses from them, lots of other resources that are specific to library boards. The main key criteria to any training and continuing education that a board member does is that it has to have something to do with their job as a board member. You may do training in other things. You may be a teacher and do teacher training or just take other workshops, and that's great, but it doesn't if it doesn't apply to your job as a library board member, it's not the correct type of continuing education work. We also have, for our library boards, a library board manual online, which is a really good resource for everything and anything you might need to know library board related. Good for new board members or even old board members who are just trying to get a refresher. You can look up your library board's status to see if they are currently certified or not, and when they're due for recertification. On this list here, it looks very similar to our accreditation list, but it just shows if the board is certified, when they are due to expire, again, what system they're in. And in this case, the library's name link actually opens up the board's certification record. So you can see if what kind of CE in the last 3 years your board has submitted, how many they currently hours they currently have, and how many hours they need. So in this case, Ainsworth has 11, they need 9, and they've got until September 2027 to get those last 9 done. Probably will not be a problem there. We also show here, this is from your public library survey, who you have told us are your current board members. So this is also a good way to double check and make sure we have the right names on our list, in our system. So that's board certification. Librarian certification is similar, but this is for public library staff. Your director is required to be certified in order for your library to be accredited. Additional staff can also be certified. You can earn more points, additional points, if other staff members are also certified. But your library director is required to be certified at a particular level. For public librarian certification is a little more work. It is 45 hours of continuing education, also over a 3-year period. Depending on what kind of education you have, you would be at a different level of librarian certification. If you have any kind of library science degree, you will be assigned to whatever particular level that matches up to. And then you would just have to do 45 hours of any sort of continuing education over 3 years. If you have another type of degree that's not library science related, then you will do your 45 hours, but you'll also have to take our basic skills courses. These are basic courses about how to be a librarian. We know here in Nebraska, many of our libraries, we have staff on that never are, smaller libraries, they never are going to go to library school. They're never going to go and get a master's in library science or anything like that, and that's fine. But we do want to help them know what is needed to be the basics of being a librarian. So we created these basic skills courses. They're free, they're all online. The hours you spend taking the basic skills courses do count towards your 45 for that first 3-year period. After that, you do not have to retake the basic skills courses. Every other 3-year period, you just have to do continuing education of any sort. You can retake courses if you want to. If you need a refresher on something, that's perfectly fine, but you don't have to redo those. We have lots of information here of ways that you can earn continuing education. The basic skills requirement is there are some required courses. There are 6 required courses you take: collection management, communication, customer service, etc. And then you've got some elective courses on anything you want to take after that. And we keep track of this for you. These are all on our public library calendar. They are on a schedule throughout the year. Here's the schedule. There we go. Generally, they're usually, for as long as I've been here, always done in the same order every year. So at the beginning of the year, we have customer service, library governance, library technology. So over a 3-year period, you should be able to get all of the courses you need done. We are doing some now that are being more self-paced. Communication, for example, you can do at any time, and it is a self-paced course. So you can do it any time of the year. Introduction to cataloging, also self-paced, but just during during the month of April. So these basic skills classes are, anyone can take these as well. They're free, open to anybody. Even if you do have a library degree, but you need a refresher on some particular topic, go ahead and jump into a basic skills class, absolutely. There is a page here with more information about how to earn your like credits for your public librarian certification. Very similar to the library board one, but as I said, you need to do more hours. Webinars, workshops, online, in-person, conferences, taking any courses for college credit you can do as well. If you are actually teach, if you do a presentation, like I'm doing a presentation right here now, you can earn continuing education credits for presenting. So if you present at a conference, like our Nebraska Library Association conference or Nebraska Teachers Conference or something, you can earn continuing education for being not just attending something, but being the presenter of that. You can also look up your records, review your own CE record. This is not something that's public like the library board one, but you can look up here and see where you're at in the program. See if you need more CE hours, how many you have, etc. There is a password lookup here, so you can look up, if you don't remember what your password was, you can check it here. Holly Duggan is our continuing education coordinator. She's in charge of our certification programs and our basic skills classes program. So you can reach out to her with questions. And Mary Geibel, she's our administrative assistant here in library development, and she helps. You probably hear from her about confirming CE records and getting your certificates and whatnot. We also have, similar to our library board manual, a director's guidebook, an online resource for library directors, basically all the basics of what you need to know to be a library director here in Nebraska. So definitely a good resource for you as a library director. And then this was our library board manual, which is all the basics of everything you need to know to be a library board member here in Nebraska. Any questions about certification programs? All right, let's get back to our qualifications. So your director, your board has to be certified, and director has to be certified at a particular level. And if we pop over here, you can see it depends on in the help here, the legal service area of your community. So depending on what size your community is, you have to be at a certain level. You can see here, we do not require that library directors have a master's in library science or a library degree, except for in communities of 10,000 or more. Of course, the larger communities with larger areas to serve, we do, for accreditation purposes, we do require that you have a master's in library science, master's in library information science, whatever is the graduate level degree for librarianship. The names of that keeps changing over the years, but anyway, for anyone in a community 10,000 or above, in order to be accredited, your director must have the master's degree, graduate level degree. We do not have any requirement in the state of Nebraska that a library director must have this degree. So that may sound a little confusing. There's no requirement in Nebraska that a library director has to have a degree, but if you want your library to be accredited, and you're in a community of 10,000 or more, then your director does have to have the graduate degree. You also need to receive local funding from your city, village, township, whoever. So this is a budget for your library. I already mentioned you have to have done the public library survey and supplemental survey, so I'm not going to go over that again. You do have to have paid library staff during all hours the library is open. Now, we do know, so you cannot be just a volunteer-run library and be accredited. You have to pay your staff. We do have libraries that, we do know that sometimes you need to have volunteers or board members come in to run the library if the director is out or at a meeting or a conference or something, and that's perfectly fine. We know that sometimes you do have to just cover the hours by somebody who isn't getting paid, and that's fine. But as far as like your standard staffing, it has to be normally, regularly paid library staff. Director needs to have an email address, which they check. This is how we reach out to you about your accreditation and your certification. Everything is all done via email. So you do need to be checking your email. You have to make all of your services available without charge. This is your basic services, and this is actually in state statutes that you need to be free loaning of materials, using the materials in the library, providing access to the internet and no charge to users. You can't charge per minute fees or anything like that for using internet at your library. And then you have to make an annual report to whoever is your governing body, city council, county, whatever, also per state statute. This is something that's in the state laws as well. They have to annual report of what the library did over the last year. And you can see here, once you've met all those 12 qualifications, check them all off, then it will say you meet the minimum qualifications. You can now apply for accreditation. And you log into your library's accreditation application form using your Bibliostat username and password. This is the same username and password that you use to submit your public library survey. We didn't want you to have to remember or create a new password, something different, so we just use the same one. So that same one you already used for your survey, you'll type in here. I'm not going to go into that right now because, as I said, the form's not live until July, so I can't show you a live form at the moment, but this is then where you would go and log into your accreditation application form. But what I can show you is a draft preview version of that. And I'm going to show you that in a second. I'm just going to go over the last requirement here. So those are the 12 minimum qualifications that you have to meet. The last thing in order to apply is that community needs response plan. It was previously called a strategic plan that didn't really explain what it was. This is mainly having you look at your community, reviewing what they need, what they might want, something new they might want in this community, checking, just looking outside the box, outside the library to see what can we help in our community. We have, as I said, I'm not going to go into the real details of this because that's in our full training, the full 3-hour training workshops that I do in June. But there is basic elements of the plan. You do a community profile, look up the demographics of your community, see what's going on, decide what are our strengths and resources that we have here at the library and in the community, analyze all that and come up with some goals and ideas of what could we do something new, or what current program could we expand, or something like that. So this is a separate document that you just write up. As I said, if you need your previous one, you don't know what it is, let me know, I will send you it. We do have lots of resources here. We have examples of other good community needs response plans that libraries have submitted. We did a little change in 2022 to the format of it, but these previous ones still have good content and good writing. So all of these are good resources and good examples to use as a template for your own if you want to. We also have a lot of worksheets and how-to guides here that help you do each section of your community needs response plan. During the 3-hour workshops that I'll do in June, we'll go into all the steps and all the details of this plan and much, much more in depth. So this is the requirements to apply: doing your survey, our supplemental survey, meeting those 12 minimum qualifications, and having a community needs response plan. You have all of those, you do your application form, submit it to me, and then we start working on evaluating it. The application form, any questions about any of that, about the requirements, the 12 minimum requirements, the community needs response plan, before I go into more detail on the application form itself? All right, so the accreditation application form is broken up into 5 different categories. Some of these questions are actually pre-filled by information you've already entered in your public library survey. We don't need you to re-enter all of your data. We don't need to have to do that. So some things you'll see will be pre-filled by statistics you've already submitted. Other things is where you check off the boxes yourself. As I said, the application doesn't go live until July 1st, but there is a preview application, a static version of the form so you can look at to see what questions will be asked. So and this is the preview application over here. And I'm going to go through that in just a second. So this is an example. You can just go through it. You can actually check on things, but at least you'll know what the questions you are going to be asked and be able to check off. Some of the questions on the application form are peer comparisons. We compare your library for certain criteria to other communities of the same, close to the same size as your legal service area, anywhere within 15% above or below your community's population served, we compare you to. And there's 9 guidelines here: local income, hours open, circulation, collection size, etc., attendance per capita. This is these benchmarks comparing yourself to other communities of a similar size. If you meet either the average of the reported statistics for all your peers or the median, the value lying in the middle when all the statistics are in order, either one of those you can meet, and then you earn those points. Now, you don't have to do that math. This just explains how it works. When you are in your application form, we pull in your library data from your public library survey and the data from other libraries in the state, and the form does the math for you. So don't panic about trying to figure out what is median, what is average. The form just does that for you. This is all done. Sam Shaw handles all this as well, figuring out all these peer comparisons. So if any questions about the peer library data, you can reach out to him. Sometimes for some of our larger communities, we do not have enough libraries of a similar size to do a comparison that would be really useful and valid. So we do look at public library statistics from states bordering us: Kansas, South Dakota, Iowa sometimes. So some of you may see that your peer libraries are from other states outside of Nebraska, just because there weren't enough libraries of the same size. All right, we have a question that just came in about library directors and degrees. So it's kind of long, so I'm going to read it here. So if a new director without a library science graduate degree is hired at an accredited library in a community greater than 10,000, do you work with them so they can still be accredited, or do you require that they have the degree or work towards a degree? Yes, we actually have talked about this recently, and we do need, for this population of 10,000 or more, that they do have the degree and not be just working towards it. They have completed the library science degree for that larger community. Normally, that's not been a problem. Most library communities of that size, having an MLS is kind of a default requirement for being a library director. So it hasn't come up as an issue in the past. I think that's why we just put it in here, because they were all, I don't know, some of these criteria were done before my time. But so we would need them to have completed their library science degree to be that level 5 for that community in the population 10,000 or more. So this is definitely something that, as if you are hiring a new library director and you're in one of those large communities, and we don't have very many of them, that you need to be aware of when you are doing that hiring process and what the requirements are, and understand that being accredited is not a requirement in the state of Nebraska. It's optional. That in order to get your accreditation or keep it, you would need to be hiring a director with that appropriate education and degree. Now, if they work towards the degree and get it, you get to revisit that and reapply again, and then you can get your accreditation back or get the library's accreditation if they didn't have it at all. So this isn't also a one-time thing. Every year, any library who's eligible will get invited to apply. So if you don't do it this year, that's okay. Or if you lose your accreditation this year, that's okay. You just come back again next year and try again. You're welcome. All right, so let's look at that application itself. I opened it up over here. So this is, as I said, the preview application. When you log into yours, you use that Bibliostat login. It will say here, application for whatever public library. For the items that are pulled in from the public library survey, they are pre-checked for you. You can't uncheck or check these. Green check means you meet the guideline. Red X means you do not. There's information here on our levels. If you also, when you are in your library's application, there will be an extra blue box up here in this yellow area, a blue button that will be a link to your library's peer libraries. So if you want to know who you are being compared with, you'll be able to click on that and see which libraries we are comparing you to. If you want to know those ahead of time, or if you want to know some of the actual statistics from those libraries, like what are the numbers that they submitted, you can reach out to Sam and he can get you a spreadsheet that tells you all of the actual data that was submitted by the other libraries. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these questions here. There's quite a lot here, and that's what our full workshops in June are for. I'm just going to show you how this application form works. As you can see here, here's a green check, and this first green check just means you clicked those 12 minimum qualifications, which got you into the form in the first place. All the other ones here that you can check in, once you will see what they're about, and then it will tell you how many points that particular item is worth. Having your community needs response plan is worth 10 points. Reviewing it annually is worth 5 points. We have our question marks here again that will pop open. Now when you're in the form, a little pop-up here that will have, not every single question has help, but for the ones that we have more information about or more resources for you to use, we do have this pop-up help for you. So this first section on governance and planning, this is just the basics of, you have your plan, what kind of policies do you have? You can see here's a couple more questions that were pulled in from your public library survey. You tell us if you have a friends group or a foundation, and if you have one or the other, those will be checked. If you only have a friends group and no foundation, the foundation would have that red X, and you don't earn the points for that particular item. What resources do you have to keep the library going? And this is where we start getting into the peer comparison ones. In this kind of question, it would show your number, the median, and then the average of your peer group. So you can see how it all works out and if you earn those points. Do you have open hours? Do you check on to see when people want to have you open? Staff, here is where it talks about the certification. So this is where, if your library director is certified, this is also comes through your public library survey, that we know if you are certified, and we have this information in our records and you're at the correct level, you earn those points. And this is where, if some of your additional staff are certified, you can earn more points. It does have to be a minimum number of library staff members have to be certified at any level. You'll notice here the staff members can be at any level. They just have, in order to earn the points, if you're in a smaller library, you need just at least one person in addition to your director to be certified. And as you get higher size community, a few more. Only excuse me, only a director has a specific level they have to be at. Here we have, do you provide any funding for continuing education? What kind of technology do you have? Do you have an online library system, an ILS, wireless internet, computers? Last year, we added these new questions in about library security. Excuse me. This was recommended by Andrew Sherm, who's our IT person here in library development. Wanted to make sure that libraries are keeping up on security for their computers. Remember, end of life for Windows 10 is October of this year. Excuse me. Which means after October, there will no longer be any support or security updates for anyone using Windows 10 as the operating system on their PCs. You need to be on Windows 11. Sherm can help you with that. Reach out to him. Also, any other of these computer questions, you can reach out to him as well to help you with filtering or reboot, restore software, anything like that. How is your collection? There's collection questions and weeding, circulation rate, collection size. Part 3 is on services. What programs do you offer? Do you do interlibrary loan? Databases that you use for research. Part 4 on collaboration and cooperation. Are you working with other organizations, other groups? Do you attend village board meetings? Excuse me. Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. Do you have a teen board? Do you do anything with advocacy, like the Nebraska Library Association's Advocacy Day, etc.? And last section on communications. How do you reach out to your community and let people know what you are doing? Do you have your mission statement and libraries policies in your library website? Do you use social media? Do you use non-internet PR? Some people are online, some people are not. Some of your community. Do you report to the village board? Do you communicate with any other groups? And I will mention here, any of these online things that are mentioned here, having a website, using Facebook, whatever you list here that you use social media. If you say you post your mission statement and your policies on your library website, I will go and look for that. I will go look at your Facebook page. If you say you have one, I will go and make sure that you have all of this out there. Many of these questions obviously are on the honor system. I don't know if you have regularly updated exhibits and displays. I don't go physically visit all of your libraries, but I do check the things that I can, like all these things online that you say you do. So if you do have something, social media or a website or a blog, make sure that you're doing something there new, at least monthly, to publicize or just report what's happening at the library, and I will check on that. And at the bottom, you just enter your sign off on the form, and you'll see there is a point total that is kept throughout as you're going through this application form, and you can see what your total is. This 97, that's, as you can see, having all of those green checks. That's the start. If you met every single one of those criteria from the public library survey data, that's what you start with. You may not have all of those. As you're going through the live form, there is also going to be up here in the upper right a floating box with that same count. So you can see as you're going, you don't have to scroll all the way to the bottom. You can see how many points you've earned. So that is the application form. Does anybody have any questions about the form? Type in the questions section if you do. Anything quick I can answer for you now. So we do have this preview form always available throughout the year. So at any time you want to, you can always go here and see the kind of questions that will be asked and how many points. So you can kind of do your own math if you want to see, can we make it to that bronze level, or can we make it to that silver? And see, maybe we don't have a teen board and we need to. Maybe we don't have a policy on marketing. Let's get one. We can earn a point for that. So this will give you ideas of things you can work on. All right, and so that is your form. And that is actually everything you need, the basics of doing your accreditation. Doing that survey, which should have already done, meeting those 12 qualifications, doing your plan, and then filling out that application form to actually become accredited. So that is the our overview and basics of the whole program. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I mentioned? We're a little after 11 o'clock. That's okay. I will stay here and answer any questions you have as long as you need me to. If there's anything more you want to know about anything that I mentioned, anything that wasn't clear enough, anything that you want to see again, I want to know more about, type into that question section. This whole session is being recorded and will be available to watch later as well at your convenience, so you can go back and refer to it. If you have any board members or other staff that you want to see this overview, you can refer them to it as well to come and watch. For that board certification, if they watch this session, they will earn CE for it. If you have 5 board members and they all watch this hour-long session, that's 5 hours out of their 20 that they can earn. And remember, I do have those longer workshops coming up. So do sign up if you are up for re-accreditation this year or interested in becoming accredited for the first time. I highly recommend registering for one of these longer workshops. This is where I will go into way more detail about all those questions in your application and about how to write and update that community needs response plan. Those are the 2 things that take the most work for becoming accredited, and that's what these 3-hour workshops are for, to get much more in depth into all of that work. They are also all be recorded. Well, no, they'll all be recorded, and one will be made available later for you to watch as well. So if you can't make any of these, you'll have a recorded version that you can watch it later when it's convenient for you. And if you do have any questions, any issues, if you're wondering about what's going on with your accreditation, if you need to talk to me about getting an extension, reach out to me. contact me, email me, call, whatever works for you, and I will work with you on whatever you need. That's what I am here for, to get you through this process. Well, it doesn't look like any other questions have come in, so I think I will wrap things up for today. Remember, accreditation starts July 1st. All of you up for re-accreditation and who are not accredited but did your public library survey will get an email from me on Tuesday, July 1st. Everything is due by October 1st, and then by the end of the year, December, you will know if you are accredited and at what level. All right, thank you, everybody. I'm going to pop over to my NCompass Live page here now and do my wrap up of our show. As I said, today's show has been recorded. This is our upcoming shows, and our archive shows are here. There's a link to them here underneath all of our upcoming shows. And that brings you to our archives, the most recent one at the top of the page here. So today's show will be posted here. Everyone who attended today's show and registered will get an email from me, should be by the end of the day tomorrow, letting you know that the recording is available. And it will link to the show recording on our libraries, the Nebraska Library Commission's YouTube channel. We also have, as I said, this is our full show archives, and we have a search feature here. You can search for through the entire show archives or just the most recent 12 months if you want something really current. That is because this is our full show archive. I'm not going to scroll all the way down because that would be crazy. Going back to when the show first premiered, which was in January 2009. So this is the 17th year of NCompass Live. But whenever you're watching any of our archive shows, so just do pay attention to the original broadcast date. You will see them all here, so you know how old any of our shows are. Some things will be fine to watch, be good resources, stand the test of time, and that's great. But some things will become old and outdated. Resources may have changed drastically or not exist anymore. Links may be broken. People will work at different libraries. All sorts of reasons why things might become old. But so just pay attention to that original broadcast date. I mentioned earlier that we had shows about the open meetings. And here we did a 2024 update last November. So the most recent Open Meetings Act session that we did. So you should definitely watch that one if you want to know more about the Open Meetings Act. And we did one about public library laws. There it is, Chapter 51 and beyond. So we have a session on that as well if you want to know more about Nebraska Public Library laws. You can see here we do Open Meetings Act repeated sessions. There have been changes sometimes each year done by the state legislature to the act itself. So that's why we do review it and update it. But this is our most recent one. Is still valid for now. Nothing was changed this year yet. All right. So that's our show archives. I said, here's our upcoming shows. So thank you so much for being here today. Good luck with your accreditation. Definitely reach out to me if you have any questions or issues with that. I hope you'll join us next week when our NCompass Live will be on small adjustments for big changes. We have a librarian joining us from North Carolina, Liberty Public Library in North Carolina. Brenda is going to be joining us to talk about programs that they have done that have made some major changes to their library and their community. So please do sign up for that show or any of our other future ones. And hopefully I will see you all on a future. Oh, I also should mention, I forgot, we have a Facebook page, social media. Yeah, we have a link here. Our NCompass Live page is over here. You can, if you like to use social media, give us a like over there. We post reminders about the show. Here's a reminder to log in today's show. When we do Meet the Presenter sessions and when our recordings are available, we post on here as well. You can see we use the hashtag, a little abbreviation, NComp Live, a little abbreviation for our show name. We post here on our NCompass Live Facebook page. We also post on the Library Commission, has an Instagram and still has a Twitter account. So we'll post reminders on there as well about shows upcoming. So if you like to use any of that social media, you can find us out there. There we go. All right, so that wraps it up for today. Thank you everyone for being here with me, and hopefully I'll see you on a future episode of NCompass Live. Bye.